Imagine a place high up, where the air is so thin it tickles your nose, and the mountains touch the sky. This is where Lily found herself, lost and all alone. She was just a small girl, maybe about 10 years old, with bright eyes that were now filled with tears. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, and the trees whispered secrets she couldn't understand. Lily shivered, her thin jacket offering little warmth against the biting cold. She hugged herself tight, trying to remember the way back. But everything looked the same: tall pine trees, rocky paths, and endless stretches of gray. Panic began to bubble inside her like a fizzy drink about to explode. She called out, her voice small and weak against the vastness of the mountains, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Only the echo answered, mocking her loneliness. She was truly alone, abandoned in a wilderness that seemed to stretch forever. Little did she know, a pair of watchful eyes were observing her from a distance, eyes that belonged to a solitary cowboy who would soon change her life forever. It hadn't always been this way. Just a few hours earlier, Lily had been hiking with her family. They were on vacation, exploring a new mountain trail. Lily loved hiking, but today, she and her older brother, Tom, kept bickering. "You're walking too slow," Tom had complained, his face red with annoyance. "I'm trying," Lily retorted, tripping over a root. "Maybe if you weren't rushing, I wouldn't fall." Their parents had warned them to stop, but the arguing continued. Finally, Lily, in a fit of anger, stomped off the trail. "I'm going my own way," she shouted, disappearing behind a thicket of bushes. She hadn't meant to get lost. She just wanted to be alone for a few minutes to cool down. But when she tried to find her way back, the trail had vanished. Every direction looked the same, and the sounds of her family calling her name faded into the distance. Now, regret gnawed at her more fiercely than the cold. Her anger was gone, replaced by a chilling fear. She just wanted to see her mom and dad again. The sun began to dip behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, but Lily couldn't appreciate the beauty. All she felt was the growing cold and a sharp pang of hunger. Her stomach rumbled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten anything since lunch. She tried to remember what her dad had told her about surviving in the wilderness. "Find shelter," he'd said. "And stay put." But every potential shelter seemed too scary, dark caves and tangled bushes that could hide wild animals. She huddled beneath a large pine tree, its needles offering a small barrier against the wind. The ground was damp and cold, seeping through her thin jeans. She closed her eyes, trying to imagine herself back home, safe and warm in her own bed. As darkness fell, the mountains came alive with unfamiliar sounds. Owls hooted, and small creatures rustled in the undergrowth. Every snap of a twig made her jump. Fear turned into terror, and she began to cry again, soft, whimpering sounds that were swallowed by the vastness of the night. She was utterly alone and completely helpless against the dangers of the mountain. Far from the hiking trails and the bustling towns, nestled in a hidden valley, was a small, weathered cabin. This was home to Jedediah, but everyone just called him Jed. He was a cowboy, through and through, with a face tanned by the sun and eyes as blue as the mountain sky. He lived a simple life, tending to his small herd of cattle and enjoying the solitude of the mountains. Jed wasn't like the other cowboys. He didn't go to town much, didn't care for the company of others. Some folks said he was a grumpy old loner, but those who knew him better understood that he simply preferred the quiet companionship of nature. He knew the mountains like the back of his hand, every trail, every creek, every hidden grove. His days were filled with hard work, mending fences, checking on his cattle, and chopping wood for the long winter ahead. Evenings were spent by the crackling fire in his cabin, reading old books or simply listening to the wind whisper through the trees. He was content, or so he thought, until one cold evening when his peaceful routine was about to be disrupted. The next morning dawned crisp and clear. Jed saddled his old horse, Dusty, and set out to check on his cattle grazing in the higher meadows. It was a routine he'd followed for years, a comforting rhythm to his solitary life. He scanned the landscape, his keen eyes searching for any sign of trouble, a stray calf, a broken fence, or even a mountain lion lurking nearby. As he rode through a dense patch of trees, he noticed something unusual. A small, brightly colored object huddled at the base of a pine tree. He squinted, trying to make out what it was. It looked like a person. He urged Dusty forward, his heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and concern. As he got closer, he saw that it was indeed a child, a young girl, curled up and shivering. He dismounted quickly, his weathered face etched with worry. What was a child doing all alone, so far from civilization? He approached cautiously, not wanting to frighten her. This was something he hadn't encountered in all his years in the mountains. "Hello there, little one," Jed said softly, his voice rough from years of disuse. Lily flinched at the sound, burying her face deeper into her knees. He could see she was scared, and he knew he had to tread carefully. He knelt down, keeping a safe distance. "My name is Jed. Are you all right?" Lily peeked up at him, her eyes wide and filled with tears. She didn't say anything, just shook her head slowly. Jed could see she was exhausted and probably hungry. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a small, slightly squashed apple. "I have an apple here," he offered gently. "Would you like it?" Lily hesitated for a moment, then nodded, her gaze fixed on the apple. Jed tossed it to her, and she snatched it up, devouring it in large bites. He watched her, his heart softening. He knew he couldn't leave her out here alone. "Come on," he said, standing up. "Let's get you back to my cabin. It's warm there, and I have some food." He extended a hand, but didn't push. He'd wait for her to trust him. Lily looked at Jed's outstretched hand, then back at the trail leading deeper into the woods. She hesitated, unsure if she could trust this strange man. But the thought of warmth and food was too tempting to resist. Slowly, she reached out and took his hand. His grip was firm but gentle, and it gave her a sense of security she hadn't felt since getting lost. Jed helped her onto Dusty, settling her in front of him. The ride back to the cabin was slow and quiet. Lily leaned against Jed, finding comfort in his presence. When they finally arrived, the cabin looked small but inviting, smoke curling from the chimney. Inside, a fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow over the room. Jed helped Lily down from Dusty and led her to a rocking chair near the fire. He busied himself preparing a simple meal of stew and bread. The smell filled the cabin, making Lily's stomach rumble again. As she ate, wrapped in a warm blanket, she began to feel safe for the first time in what seemed like forever. Jed had given her more than just food and shelter, he had given her hope. After Lily had eaten her fill, Jed sat down beside her, his eyes filled with concern. "Do you want to tell me what happened, little one?" he asked gently. Lily hesitated, picking at a loose thread on her blanket. She looked up at Jed, his kind face encouraging her to speak. Slowly, she recounted the story of her family's hiking trip, the argument with her brother, and how she had stormed off in anger. Tears welled up in her eyes again as she described getting lost and spending the night alone in the woods. Jed listened patiently, never interrupting, his gaze fixed on Lily. When she finished, he nodded slowly. "You made a mistake, Lily," he said softly, "but we all do. The important thing is that you're safe now." He paused, then added, almost as if speaking to himself, "I know what it's like to be alone." He didn't elaborate, but Lily sensed a deep sadness in his voice. It was as if he, too, had once been lost in his own way. This shared feeling of loneliness created an unspoken bond between them. The next few days were filled with learning. Jed, with his quiet patience, began teaching Lily the skills she needed to survive in the mountains. He showed her how to build a fire, starting with small twigs and dry leaves, carefully nursing the flames until they grew strong. He taught her which berries were safe to eat and how to find edible plants. "The mountains provide," he explained, "but you have to know how to listen to them." He also taught her how to navigate using the sun and the stars, how to identify animal tracks, and how to find a safe place to shelter from the weather. Lily was a quick learner, eager to absorb all of Jed's knowledge. She realized that these skills weren't just about survival, they were about respecting and understanding the natural world around her. With each lesson, her fear diminished, replaced by a growing sense of confidence and independence. She was no longer just a lost little girl, she was becoming a mountain girl, strong and resourceful. As the days turned into weeks, a special bond grew between Lily and Jed. Lily started to see Jed as a father figure, someone who cared for her, protected her, and taught her valuable lessons. She would follow him around the cabin, asking questions and helping with chores. She loved listening to his stories about the mountains and the animals that lived there. Jed, in turn, began to see Lily as the daughter he never had. He enjoyed her company and found himself looking forward to her chatter and laughter. He taught her how to ride Dusty, how to fish in the nearby creek, and how to play checkers by the fire. He even started telling her stories about his own childhood, something he had never shared with anyone before. The cabin, once a place of quiet solitude, was now filled with warmth and life. They had found a family in the most unexpected of places. The mountains, which had once seemed so menacing to Lily, now felt like a safe and welcoming home. Together, Lily and Jed worked to make the cabin and the surrounding land feel more like a home. Lily, with her boundless energy, helped Jed with tasks he had been putting off for years. They repaired the leaky roof, fixed the broken fence around the vegetable garden, and even built a small chicken coop. Lily planted wildflowers around the cabin, adding splashes of color to the landscape. She also helped Jed organize his tools and supplies, making the cabin feel more tidy and welcoming. Jed, in turn, taught Lily how to care for the animals and tend to the garden. They worked side by side, their laughter echoing through the valley. The cabin, once a simple shelter, was now a cozy and inviting home, filled with love and laughter. They had created a sanctuary, a place where they both felt safe, secure, and truly happy. Each nail hammered, each seed planted, each brushstroke of paint added to their shared sense of belonging and solidified their growing family bond. They were building more than just a house, they were building a life together. Winter arrived with a vengeance, blanketing the mountains in a thick layer of snow. The days grew shorter, and the nights grew colder. The wind howled relentlessly, testing the strength of the cabin walls. Getting firewood became a daily struggle, and the cattle needed extra care to protect them from the harsh weather. For Lily and Jed, winter brought new challenges, but it also strengthened their reliance on each other. They worked together to keep the fire burning, to shovel snow away from the cabin, and to make sure the animals were fed and warm. They spent their evenings huddled by the fire, reading stories, playing games, and sharing their dreams. The isolation of winter forced them to depend on each other even more, deepening their bond. Lily learned to appreciate Jed's strength and resilience, while Jed learned to admire Lily's optimism and cheerful spirit. They discovered that they could face any challenge as long as they had each other. The long, cold winter became a time of growth and deepening love, forging an unbreakable connection between them. As the snow began to melt and the first signs of spring appeared, Jed knew it was time to make a difficult decision. He sat down with Lily by the fire one evening, his face etched with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Lily," he began gently, "it's time for you to go home." Lily's face fell. "Home? But, this is my home now," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Jed reached out and took her hand. "I know, little one," he said, "and I'll miss you terribly. But you have a family who loves you and who must be worried sick. It's not right for you to stay here forever." He explained that he would take her back to the nearest town, where they could contact her parents. He promised that they would always be a part of each other's lives, no matter what. In the days that followed, Jed carefully prepared Lily for the journey. He packed food, warm clothes, and a map of the mountains. He also reminded her of all the survival skills he had taught her, ensuring she was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey down the mountain was long and arduous. The melting snow made the trails slippery and treacherous, and the steep inclines tested their endurance. They faced swollen creeks that needed to be carefully crossed, and dense forests that seemed to stretch on forever. Jed relied on his knowledge of the mountains to guide them, while Lily used the survival skills he had taught her to help navigate and find safe places to rest. They worked together, supporting each other through the difficult terrain. There were moments of doubt and exhaustion, but they never gave up. One evening, a sudden storm caught them by surprise. They had to quickly find shelter under a rocky overhang, huddling together for warmth as the wind howled and the rain poured down. It was during these challenging moments that their bond was truly tested and strengthened. They learned that they could rely on each other, no matter what, and that their love and support would see them through any hardship. The mountains were throwing one last test at them, a reminder of the power and resilience they had both discovered within themselves. Finally, after days of travel, they reached the outskirts of a small town nestled in the valley below. Lily stared in amazement at the sight of houses, cars, and people going about their daily lives. It seemed like a different world compared to the quiet solitude of the mountains. Jed led her to the town's small sheriff's office. The sheriff, a kind-faced woman with a warm smile, listened intently as Jed explained how he had found Lily lost in the mountains. Lily, still a little shy, confirmed his story. The sheriff quickly contacted the authorities, and within hours, they had located Lily's parents. They had been searching for her ever since she went missing and were overjoyed to hear that she was safe. The sheriff assured Jed that Lily's parents would be there as soon as possible. As they waited, Lily clung to Jed's hand, her eyes filled with a mixture of anticipation and sadness. The moment of reunion was drawing near, but it also meant saying goodbye to the man who had saved her life and become her family. Soon, a car pulled up outside the sheriff's office, and two figures rushed inside. Lily recognized them instantly, her mom and dad. Her mom ran towards her, tears streaming down her face, and wrapped Lily in a tight embrace. Her dad followed close behind, his face filled with relief. Lily. "Oh, Lily, we were so worried," her mom cried, holding her tight. "We thought we'd lost you forever," her dad added, his voice choked with emotion. Lily hugged them back, tears streaming down her own face. "I'm okay, Mom, Dad," she said, her voice muffled by their embrace. "I'm so glad to see you." Her parents turned to Jed, their eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," Lily's mom said, her voice trembling. "Thank you for saving our daughter." Her dad stepped forward and shook Jed's hand firmly. "We don't know how to repay you," he said, "but we'll never forget what you've done." The room was filled with emotions, relief, gratitude, and love. It was a moment that would forever be etched in their memories. As her parents made arrangements to leave, Lily's joy was mixed with a deep sadness. She knew she was going home, but saying goodbye to Jed was harder than she had imagined. She pulled him aside, her eyes brimming with tears. "I don't want to leave you, Jed," she whispered, clutching his hand. "You're my family too." Jed knelt down and looked her in the eye, his own heart aching. "I know, Lily," he said softly. "And I'll miss you terribly. But you belong with your mom and dad. They love you very much." He paused, then smiled gently. "But this isn't goodbye, Lily. You can come visit me whenever you want. We can go hiking, fishing, and play checkers by the fire, just like before." Lily's face lit up at the thought. "Really?" she asked, her voice filled with hope. "Really," Jed confirmed, squeezing her hand. "I promise I'll visit you soon, Jed," Lily said, giving him a big hug. "I promise." With that promise, she turned and walked towards her parents, her heart still heavy but also filled with the hope of seeing Jed again soon. The ride back to his cabin felt longer than usual. The mountains seemed quieter, the wind seemed to whisper a sadder song. When Jed opened the door to his cabin, the emptiness hit him hard. The fire had died down, the rocking chair was still, and the air was devoid of Lily's laughter. He missed her chatter, her questions, her boundless energy. He missed the way she would help him with chores, her small hands trying to do tasks that were too big for her. He missed her presence, the warmth she had brought into his solitary life. But amidst the emptiness, Jed also felt a warmth in his heart. He had helped someone, he had made a difference in a little girl's life. He had given her shelter, taught her valuable skills, and shown her what it meant to be loved. He had also found a connection, a purpose, and a family in the most unexpected of places. He was no longer just a solitary cowboy, he was a hero, a friend, and a father figure. And that knowledge filled the emptiness with a sense of quiet satisfaction and profound peace. Lily kept her promise. It wasn't long before she convinced her parents to take her back to visit Jed. The first visit was filled with excitement and joy. Lily ran to Jed, throwing her arms around him in a warm embrace. They spent the day hiking, fishing, and playing checkers, just like old times. The visits became a regular occurrence. Sometimes, Lily would stay for a weekend, helping Jed with chores and exploring the mountains. Other times, Jed would visit Lily and her family in town, sharing stories and laughter. Lily's parents were grateful for Jed's presence in their daughter's life and welcomed him into their family with open arms. The bond between Lily and Jed remained strong, transcending the distance and the differences in their lifestyles. They had found a unique and lasting connection, a testament to the power of kindness, compassion, and love. They proved that family isn't always about blood, it's about the people who care for you, support you, and make you feel like you belong. Their unconventional family thrived, enriching both of their lives in countless ways. Lily's experience in the mountains changed her in profound ways. She learned valuable lessons about the importance of family, the power of resilience, and the kindness of strangers. She realized that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, and that even the loneliest of people are capable of great love and compassion. She learned that family isn't just about blood relations, it's about the people who are there for you, who support you, and who make you feel safe and loved. She learned that she was stronger than she thought, capable of surviving even the most challenging situations. And she learned that even in a world filled with strangers, there are always people willing to offer a helping hand, a kind word, or a warm embrace. These lessons stayed with Lily throughout her life, shaping her into a kind, compassionate, and resilient young woman. She never forgot Jed and the impact he had on her life. She carried his memory with her always, a reminder that even a solitary cowboy can change the world, one act of kindness at a time. Lily and Jed's lives were forever changed by their unexpected encounter in the mountains. Lily, once a lost and frightened little girl, found her strength and resilience, learned the true meaning of family, and discovered the kindness that exists even in the most solitary of hearts. She carried those lessons with her, shaping her into a remarkable woman who always remembered the cowboy who had saved her life. Jed, the solitary cowboy, found a new purpose and a connection he never thought possible. He learned that even a life of solitude could be filled with love, laughter, and the joy of helping others. He discovered that family isn't always about blood, it's about the people who come into your life and touch your heart in profound ways. They both found a new beginning in a unique family in the most unexpected place, the vast and unforgiving mountains that had brought them together. Their story is a testament to the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring magic of a chance encounter that changed two lives forever. It reminds us that even when we feel lost and alone, there is always hope for a new beginning, and that family can be found in the most surprising of places.